Brothers and sisters, the Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of King Herod, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star at its rising and have come to do him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was greatly troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it has been written through the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, since from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel.' Then Herod called the Magi secretly and ascertained from them the time of the star's appearance. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, 'Go and search diligently for the child. When you have found him, bring me word, that I too may go and do him homage.' After their audience with the king, they set out, and behold, the star that they had seen at its rising preceded them, until it came and stopped over the place where the child was. They were overjoyed at seeing the star, and on entering the house they saw the child with Mary, his mother. They prostrated themselves and did him homage. Then they opened their treasures and offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed for their country by another way." The Gospel of the Lord.
I'm sure all of us like to enjoy reading, be it a novel, an adventure, a mystery, sports, fiction, whatever it might be. I'm sure all of us probably have our favorite authors, and thus that adds to the joy and the excitement of our reading. For example, adventure stories are usually tales about a journey, a quest. The adventurer is looking for something that they lack in their lives. It might be a particular antique, a car, whatever it might be. The adventurer is out seeking what they don't have. And so it is that they go on a quest, they search, and when they find the treasure, they truly are enriched from their lack of want. And so no adventurer undergoes the journey, the perils, the struggles, the time, the search, just at the end then to simply give away what they have found. There's a little story told about the experience of September 11th, 2001. As we all know, so little was left in the rubble after that World Trade Center was disintegrated and collapsed. And we all know it looked lifeless amid the devastation. But yet amid all of the destruction, there was a simple little pear tree that somehow miraculously survived. Although its roots were snapped, the trunk was blackened from fire, it was taken and replanted in November of 2001 at a nursery in the Bronx Park. And 9 years later, that tree was uprooted again during a storm, but when replanted, it was as though no damage had occurred. And then finally, in December of 2010, the tree was brought back to Memorial Park at the World Trade Center site, and it was replanted there. And it wasn't until the first day of spring in the year 2012 that it finally blossomed for the first time. That little pear tree, originally planted in the 1970s, now tops some 30 feet tall, 4 times what it was in the year 2001 in that great devastation. And it's now called the Survivor Tree because it serves as a reminder to all the people of those who have survived and persevered after the attack of what our great nation stands for as we persevere. And so neither frankincense nor gold or myrrh were brought to the memorial in 2012, but rather branches, leaves, and blossoms sufficed because they were valued above all else. As one of the survivors commented, it reminds us all of the capacity of the human spirit to persevere. Isaiah today in the scriptures proclaims, "Nations shall walk by your light, and kings by your shining radiance. Then you shall be radiant at what you see, your hearts shall throb and overflow." If only kings walked as delicately as the blossoms that endured after undergoing a certain death. If only people cared for one another as this tree was cared and nurtured back to health. If only we could bloom for one another, offering only beauty, even in the face of dirt and wrongdoings and injustices heaped upon us. Because in spite of the hurts, the insults, the beatings, and even death, Christ's spirit of innocence and trust can still blossom within all of us. And so we hear today in the gospel story 3 wise men on a journey, 3 wise men, an adventurer, and the gospel tells us nothing in particular about the journey, but rather it was simply a long, lengthy one, that they were on the road. But what the scripture makes very clear to us is that they were on a quest. Something quite valuable awaited them at the journey's end. And when they finally arrived and reached their destinations, they turned the adventure on its head because they were happy. They were excited. They had found the king that they had sought, and what was the response? They asked for nothing from this great king. No favor, no gift, no promise, no position of power, but rather instead, they gave them the gifts of homage. Their quest had ended. Their adventure was over, and they were truly excited. Think about that for a moment, that experience. Not really like your normal adventures, because they, even more surprisingly, after that long journey, where did it bring them? It didn't bring them to a splendid palace, but rather to a manger in a simple little town. And there, standing in these simple surroundings before a child, his mother, and his father, they felt neither doubt nor disappointment, because their great joy was the gift of happiness. St. Matthew writes in the Gospel, "They rejoiced exceedingly with great joy, because they were truly wise men, because they saw beyond the appearance to the truth." Their quest had been unlike your natural adventure. Their goal was this king, so different from all the other kings. And so who was this King of the Jews? Who was this that the wise men came to salute? Throughout the gospel, he is the Lord who refuses earthly charm and titles. People were searching for a political power, but rather Jesus came as a humble king who sided with the poor, who cared for the lowly. He is the sovereign king whose kingdom knows no borders. And he continues to invite those both near and far away to come and to share in his kingdom. And to those who go in search of Christ, he brought great joy, because he accepts what they bring him, no matter how small, no matter how paltry. But for those who sit in the seats of power and prestige, who seek to persevere for themselves, this King, Jesus the Christ, was indeed a threat. And so, like Herod, many want to retain security and comfort and power, because a Messiah who would have them shed their wealth threatened them. They indeed run from a Lord whose destiny would be the cross, who would be called King of the Jews at his crucifixion, because this is the one that the Father reveals as his Son, the King who would save the nations. That's the manifestation of the word Epiphany that we celebrate today, because it refers to the child Jesus, who is both suffering Messiah and Lord of all the earth. And so shall you and I become adventurers like the wise men, because such an adventure requires faith and courage. It may mean taking a risk, to surrender the comfortable, to trust that our goal, even if the signs and the guides disappear, that there might be moments of frustration and sorrow. We're told the kings brought gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh to offer to the Christ child. What gift do you and I bring before him today? What do we come and offer? Hopefully the gifts that we bring are the gifts that would mend a quarrel, a gift that would forgive someone who hurts us, a gift that would get rid of an old grudge, a gift that would allow us to listen more intently to the needs of our brothers and sisters, the gift to be more patient with others, a gift to humble ourselves, to ask for forgiveness, a gift to be gentle and kind and loving, a gift to respect one another's life and to stand up for each other. Indeed, the gifts that we bring are countless, innumerable. And so what do we bring before the Christ today as the wise men came and paid him homage? The Messiah, he doesn't care how big it is, how small it is, how valuable or poor or rich that we are. All he cares about is that we come, that we arrive before the manger, that we come like the wise men searching for the King, and we share who and what we have and are with him. What do each of us bring before the Christ today? What do we do to give him homage, glory, and praise? What do we do as we come and adore our suffering Messiah and the Lord of all the earth? Each and every one of us have a gift to bring. May we come and adore the Lord.